Hi everybody. Let's talk about today. This is a first lesson for pre-algebra real numbers, Unit 1 real numbers, and the lesson is about integers and absolute value. What are integers? So I'm going to give you definition, and we're going to fill out all these blanks. You can read it very carefully, and I'm also going to give you a really easy way to remember how to do it without using a calculator. Integers are whole numbers. For example, whole numbers start with 0 and all positive. Okay, these three dots means it's so on, like it's gonna continue in the same pattern, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And also these three dots are called ellipses. Okay, whole numbers and they're negative numbers, opposite numbers. They're opposite numbers, which means negative numbers. So -1, -2, -3, so on. The opposite of -5 is +5. The opposite of +17 is -17. And you guys know that if you don't have a sign on the left side of any number or any term, it means it's positive. So technically it's positive. The opposite of integer is also called its additive inverse. And additive inverse is a fancy name for opposite numbers. Okay. Now, the additive inverse of -29 is +29. The additive inverse of +27 is -27. +26 is -26. How do we add integers? Okay. When adding two integers, if the signs are the same, add the numbers and keep the sign they share. Okay. When adding two integers, if the signs are different, subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the bigger number. Okay, this is too okay, but I mean, this is easy to say bigger number. Okay, adding a negative is the same as subtracting. So if I have 7 add a negative number 4, then it means I'm subtracting actually. 7 subtract 4 is 3. In another way to think about it, do you see the parentheses means multiplication? Right? We all know parentheses are multiplications. So if it's multiplication, then positive is multiplying with the negative number, with the negative sign. So positive multiply with negative is going to give me negative anyway. 7 subtract 4, like this. 7 subtract 4 is 3. Okay. Now, if we are adding two integers and their signs are different, then we subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So bigger is 9, I'm keeping negative. 9 and 6, when you subtract, you're going to get 3. Again, you have -5, add -6. So again, if they are multiplying these two, then it's going to go -5 subtract 6, which will give me add and keep 11. Okay, now adding integers. Now we do subtracting integers, and then I'm going to give you easy steps or easy words to remember how to do these questions without calculator. When subtracting two integers, change the subtraction to adding the opposite of the second number. So opposite of the second, then follow the rules for addition. Okay. Subtracting a negative is the same as adding. Now, if I'm subtracting, it means I'm adding. So plus 3. And again, the same rule that I talked about it multiplying, so you have to multiply. Negative times negative is going to give me positive. So 8 plus 3 is 11. 8 plus 3 is 11. Now this one, 6 has a positive on the left, okay? Every number has a sign on the left. If it doesn't have a sign, it's positive. When you subtract different signs, then it's going to give me negative 6, and you keep the sign of the bigger number. Again, same signs, we're going to add, and we're going to keep what? Keep the sign. Now, for all of this, whatever you guys saw these words, I'm going to give you something really, really easy so you can remember all that. First, if we are adding or subtracting, okay? This rule is only for adding or subtracting. The rule is same signs. If you have same signs, you add and keep. What does keep means? Keep sign. If you have same signs, if you have two positives, if you have two negatives, then it means I'm going to add the numbers and I'm going to keep the sign. Okay, like for example, this one. If you have same signs, we add and we keep. That's what it means. Now, let's go back, remember this. And then we have another one. This is same signs. This is same signs. The rule is, now we're going to go for different signs. If we have different signs, then we subtract and keep the sign of bigger number. And when I solve more example problems, I'm going to use these words, okay? So it will make more sense. Let's go back. Now we are doing multiplying and dividing integers. Multiplying and dividing integers, first, when multiplying, dividing, first ignore the signs and multiply, divide as usual. The sign of the answer will be positive if the two numbers in the problem have the same signs. The sign of the answer will be negative if the two numbers in the problem have different signs. And I will give you easy way for this too. Okay, so before I do these example problems, let me write it down what I mean by that. Okay, do you see in the beginning adding and subtracting, and these are the two rules for adding and subtracting numbers. Now I have another rule for multiplying and dividing. Multiplying and dividing. Okay, what is the rule? Negative, when you multiply a negative number times negative, it's going to give me positive answer. If I multiply positive times positive, it's going to give me positive answer. If I multiply positive times negative number, then it's going to give me negative. Now the same rule goes for division. Okay, I put division and multiplication on top of each other, so you know this rule is the same for division and same for multiplication. So let's try these questions now using that. Okay, it says negative times negative is positive. 4 times 3 is going to give me 12. Now, if you guys notice that I multiplied signs first and then I went for the numbers, please do that. Make it a habit. Multiply signs first and then the terms or the numbers. It would help you. Now, since 4 is right there and I know since it doesn't have a sign on the left side, I know it's positive. So positive times negative is going to give me negative. Positive times negative is going to give me negative. 4 times 3 is 12. Again, 6 left side, you know it's positive because I don't have anything here. I have just a multiplication. So negative times positive is going to give me negative. 5 times 6 is 30. This one is both positives. Like positive times positive is going to give me positive. 5 times 6 is 30. So that's how it's going to go. Let's talk about absolute values. What are absolute values? Absolute value is a number's distance from 0 on a number line. On a number line. Okay. The absolute value of negative 5 is positive 5. You know, when I said absolute value means distance from 0. Like, for example, I have a number line right there. That's 0. This is 1, 2, 3. This is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So I'm going to write negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. That's 1, 2, 3. Now, if I say, what is the absolute value of negative 5, like this one? I don't have a negative 5, so let's make a negative 5. Negative 4 in negative 5. Okay, if I say my absolute value, what is the absolute value of negative 5? When I use the word absolute value, it means I'm talking about a distance. So I'm talking about a distance from 0 on number line, okay? So from negative 5 to 0, that distance, this distance from negative 5 to 0, is my answer. And you know distance can never be negative. So even if I say what is the absolute value of negative 5, no matter what, my answer is going to be a positive because I'm talking about a distance. So if you count the spaces between the numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's a positive 5, don't say negative 5 because it's on the negative side. No, because absolute value means distance and it can never be. I'm just going to write here distance. Absolute value means distance, never be negative. Just write that on top of this, or just note it down in your notebook. The absolute value of positive 17 is going to be a positive 17 because if it's positive, it's already positive. We can't do anything. Okay, now use bars to show absolute value. Like if it's negative 3, then you have these absolute bars, which means the absolute value of a negative 3. What does that mean? It means I'm talking about a distance from negative 3 to 0, or 0 to negative 3 to 0, either way. If there is, okay, let's do this one. The absolute value of 15 is going to be 15. When you take it out from the absolute, it's going to be positive because it is already positive. Absolute value of negative 97, if I take it out from the absolute lines, it's going to turn positive 97 because that's my answer. This is again positive. You can't say the answer is negative. Again, positive stays positive and negative turns positive. Now, if there is a problem inside the absolute value bars, work the problem first, then find the absolute value of the answer. Now look at this. This is what they talk about. If there is a problem inside the absolute values bars, these are my two bars. And do you see there is a problem, like I'm subtracting? Why would I say subtract? Different signs, you subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. Bigger is negative because 6 is bigger. You subtract, so subtract 2 is going to give me 4. And it's within the absolute. I solved the problem first. Do you see inside? Now I'm going to take it out from the absolute and it will turn positive because now it's a distance, the answer, right? Answer has to be positive. Oh, I already did that. Okay, so let me erase this. Next, 16 subtract 7. You know 16 is a positive, and I'm going to make absolute bars. 16 is positive. Different signs you subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. So if I'm subtracting 16, subtract 7 will give me 9, and the bigger number is 16, so I'm going to keep that positive. When you take it out from the absolute, it's going to stay positive. You can change it, the distance. Anytime there is a single number inside the absolute value bars, find the absolute value first. Then work the other steps. Now look at this. These are my absolute lines, and I have only single number inside. So I'm going to take this out from the absolute lines. It's going to turn positive. Plus sign is going to stay as a plus. 12 is already a plus, so it's going to stay as a plus. So 9 plus 12 is going to give me 21. Now this one, again, take it out from inside the absolute. So it's going to turn positive too. Minus is going to stay as a minus. Again, these are absolute lines. In between them, it's negative 14. Turn it, take it out from the absolute, it's going to turn positive. But this minus is going to stay as a minus. You know that. Okay, now this one is positive. So different signs you subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. Bigger is 14. I'm going to keep that, right? And when I subtract, it's going to give me negative 12. If I have these two, and we already talked about this, if you guys have, for example, if you have these parentheses and I have these signs, so they both multiply, like they have a multiplication. This parentheses means multiplication. Positive times negative is going to give me negative. So it looks like this. And if you're adding negative number, then it means you're subtracting. So when I subtract, different signs you subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number, it's going to give me 13, because 29 subtract 16 is 13, and I'm keeping the sign of the bigger, which is 29. Same signs we add, we keep. So I'm adding 14 and 13 and 4, 17, and keeping the sign. This one, different signs we subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. When I subtract 21 and 9, I'm going to get 12, and it's negative. Bigger is 21. This one, parentheses, multiply. Positive times negative is negative 12, and this one stays minus 7. Do you see that? This sign changed to negative, and this one stayed. Same signs we add, we keep. So we keep and we add, which is 19. Different signs you subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number, 5. Excuse me. Again, multiplication, you multiply. Negative times negative is going to give me positive 6, and this negative 1 stays. Different signs you subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. Negative times negative is going to give me positive. 4 times 7 is 28. This one is positive. Positive 16 divided by negative 4. You know positive times negative or positive divide negative. I just want to go back there and show you. Positive divide negative or positive times negative, both are negatives. So this one is going to go negative, and when you divide 16 by 4, it's going to give me 4. This one, negative 93, you divide negative 3. They negative cancel out, and you can go back and check. You see, negative divide negative is positive. So I'm using all of those steps to get the answer. It's positive. 93 divided by 3 is going to give me 31. Negative times positive is going to give me negative. 6 times 5, 30. This is a negative 14, and since these are absolute bars, you take it out and turn it to positive because it's a distance. Again, solve inside the bars. Different signs you subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. Bigger is 8. I'm keeping that within the bar. 8 subtract 3 is going to give me 5. When you take it out from the absolute, it turns positive. Same thing goes here. Within the bar, you keep the bigger different signs you subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. Bigger is 7, positive. You subtract, it's going to give me 3. Take it out from the absolute, it's going to be 3. This one, take out 5 from the absolute. This minus stays as a minus. Take out this from the absolute, turn positive. And you know, different signs you subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. Bigger is 7, keeping that. Because 7 has a left side is this sign. So I'm keeping that, and 2. Again, take it out from the absolute, turn positive. This positive stays as a positive, that 12. It's going to give me 18. Now, if you guys have any questions regarding this, please comment below. I will explain more slowly or maybe more examples. But here is the thing that you guys remember. Please take notes or write it down in your notebook or memorize it or something. Okay, see you guys. Bye.